Okay, so this short video is just going to be about how we can get up and down from the floor in as most comfortable a way as we possibly can, depending on our body and how we move. So if we were in class and we finished our class lying down on the mat in a supine position, we could roll onto our side and carefully push ourselves up to a seated position. We could be on our backs, we could lift our legs, and if it's comfortable and appropriate for you, you could lift your upper body and you might be able to rock yourself up to sitting. Coming to a seated position and working from there. So either from coming onto your side and coming up to sitting, or if we've been doing some work in a seated position, either with the legs crossed or the legs long, we can rock the legs over to one side in either position and carefully just manoeuvre ourselves round to a 4-point kneeling position if that's comfortable for us. And from here we've got a few options. We could tuck our toes under, we could bring our hands back towards the knees. We could lift our knees and then we could use our thighs to lift us to come up to a standing position. Another option from this area with the toes tucked under and the knees down is we could lift the knees, we could extend the legs and we could roll ourselves up to a standing position from here. If either of those aren't comfortable for us, we could be in that 4-point kneeling position. We could carefully step one foot forward and come up to a half-high kneeling position, either with the underside of the foot, the front of the foot down, or you could tuck the toes under. You could have your hands resting to the lifted knee, and then you can push through that leg to bring yourself up to a standing position. You could try the same with the front of the foot down and push up from there. Now, if that feels it's a little bit too much of a challenge, and if you have a chair or a stool to hand, making sure it's sturdy, you could rest your hand on that stool and use the stool to assist to come up from there. It's not such a strain through the legs then. And equally, when you're coming down to the mat, you could use that chair to assist you there as well. The last thing you want to be doing is coming down heavily into maybe a half kneeling position or 4-point kneeling heavily onto your knees. So we've got that option there. Obviously, if it's difficult with the range of movement through the hip to pull the leg forward from a 4-point kneeling position, we could lift the hands and again either carefully step the foot through or again use the chair to support us. If it feels a little bit too challenging on the balance, the hand comes to the chair, we carefully step that foot through, and again then either using the thigh, the strength through the thigh and pressing the hand, or pressing the hand just onto the stool to lift us. So there's various options as we come up through there. From the floor to standing, and equally as we come down, like I say, we don't want to sort of collapse ourselves down, so we could, if we've got the articulation through the body, we could roll ourselves down, soften the knees and start to work our way down to 4-point kneeling from there. We could use our thighs, keeping the back long, and we could just carefully come down to the mat to a soft crouched position, or like I say, if we needed to, you could bring one hand to the stool, carefully step one foot back to a half-high kneeling position, either toes tucked under or the toes relaxed. Then we can bring the other knee down, and then we can find our 4-point kneeling position from there, and then from there just bringing the knees, if we can, across to one side, coming round either to a seated position. If we want to return back to the mat, we can either roll ourselves down carefully, or from that seated position we can come onto our side and carefully manoeuvre onto our back from there. So obviously we need to be very mindful of our bodies and how how we are in when we're moving, keeping ourselves as safe as we can, seeing and obviously being aware of what our joint availability is like for how we can manoeuvre around, and just adapt those transitions from the floor to standing and vice versa as best we can, depending on what feels right for you in your body. But I hope that has been helpful, and I will see you next time.